security to prevent this kind of intrusion. So what does this mean for your safety online? Greg Evans joins us for more on that. He's the president of the National Cyber Security Ventures in Atlanta, Georgia. Greg, what level of sophistication does it take to pull something like this off?
Well, I want to start with this. I do not believe personally that this was an outside job. This was not some hackers from the outside that woke up that morning and was able to hack these accounts. These are very prominent people. It's a hacker cannot guess what your password is. So let's get that straight. All right. If they have no association with you, they're not a family member, live in the same house, they don't know what your password is. Two, they should have already had two-key authentication set up on all of these accounts, which means even if they knew what your password was, a text message would have been sent to somebody's phone, the owners of the account's phone, or to an email account. So even if they knew, even if they clicked on a link and the hackers were able to steal a password, they couldn't bypass the two-key authentication. The only person that can bypass two-key authentication is someone who works at Twitter. Now, I do want you to remember this. At the beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic here in the United States, Twitter said that all of their employees could start working from home permanently. So we don't know if someone from the outside hacked into an employee's account. Did someone get access to another employee's account? But I do want you to think about this. If they hacked into Twitter itself, that means they would have had access to every Twitter account that Twitter has, including mine, yours, Kim Kardashian's, your stations, everyone, including Donald Trump, who has way more users. But they did not. They specifically targeted Vice President Joe Biden, President Obama, Jeff Bezos, who also doesn't just own Amazon, but also owns the Washington Post. And even Mike Bloomberg, who was running against the president recently and said a lot of foul things about President Trump. And his account was also hacked. So that I find that very, very suspicious that these accounts were hacked like this.
So Twitter says, Greg, that it's gonna be diagnosing the issue. So I mean, you've sort of changed the direction of my questioning here, because we're not talking about a security vulnerability. You're basically saying that this was, quote unquote, maybe an inside job. Otherwise, we might have seen more accounts impacted as a result of this. But I guess what does Twitter then do to look into this? In preventing something like this from happening? And I mean, you talk about a social media platform that's huge like that, and there are real people behind it. So how do you go about preventing something like this from happening in the future? And what is the damage that's already been done?
Well, reputation damaged on Twitter's end, okay? But let me just say this. When I say what I'm telling you right now and your viewers, I'm saying this as an ex-hacker, someone who used to do this for an actual living. If I wanted to hack into, let's say, Joe Biden's account, I didn't just want to hack into Joe Biden's. I'm going to hack into other prominent people as well. So that way, Joe doesn't look like he was the only one that was targeted. That's one. Two, if you were working in the office like you do with ours, everything that you do on your computer is monitored. So we can go back and we can see what every employee is doing on their computer. But when you have your employees working from home, then you may not be able to monitor the employees' accounts. Because Twitter says we're going to do an investigation, fine, that's what everybody says. And they will do an investigation. But remember, if two-key authentication was set up, there's no way an outside hacker can bypass two-key authentication. It just doesn't happen. Wow. And these are 6 prominent Twitter accounts.
Yeah. Well, Greg Evans, we really appreciate your analysis on this story. Thanks for being with us.